Hello, my name is Just Three Possums, but Jay works just fine. Here on my channel, I talk about really whatever I want, and I lied in my last video. I have a different topic to talk about today. This is definitely going to be a shorter one, but that's fine. It's okay. I need some time to research my other idea. So, Ancient Aliens, not just the show, but the conspiracy as a whole, is, well, based on racist ideas. So I know in the last video I said that I'd talk about infant mass graves, but then I was thinking about the racism in the Ancient Aliens theory, because I was considering changing my AP African American Studies thesis project to the racism in this conspiracy theory, but I already got my thesis of hip-hop's inherent politicism approved and started research, and I didn't want that all to go to waste, so I'm talking about Ancient Aliens here. Now, I am sure that it won't surprise you to find out that the popularity of this theory exploded in 2009 when the History Channel, not really sure why it's still called that, but anyways, when the History Channel aired the pilot episode for its show Ancient Aliens, introducing a large audience to the ideas of Erich von Däniken, from who the show lifts most of its material. So in order to really understand the harm and racism embedded in this theory, we need to go way back and talk about Andrew Jackson for a bit. And I promise it'll make sense, just bear with me. So in December 6th of 1830, Andrew Jackson used his second State of the Union address to defend the Indian Removal Act. Also, I have a really hard time saying Andrew Jackson, so please don't make fun of how the words muddle together when I say his name. Thank you very much. During the speech, our racist and genocidal little friend here decided to give an impromptu archaeology lesson. He claimed that any quote-unquote melancholy reflections were ahistorical. He then went on to state that, quote, "In the monuments and fortifications of an unknown people, we behold the memorial of a once powerful race," end quote. Now, any monuments that Andrew Jackson is referring to here were, in fact, not made by an unknown people, but were made by a known people. They were made by the indigenous people of North America, obviously. But, of course, our little buddy here couldn't admit that. So, like me, you're probably asking, well, if he's not referring to the indigenous people of America, then who is this quote-unquote once powerful race? Well, apparently, this race was the lost race of the mound builders that it is believed once inhabited the continent, and these mound builders were actually North America's original white inhabitants. Which, again, not true. Andrew Jackson likes calling things ahistorical. Well, this is ahistorical. Alright, these mounds that he is referring to are burial mounds, which were used by indigenous people throughout the Americas, and a lot of which are lost to time because, well, they called themselves amateur archaeologists, but I like to call them grave robbers, dug up these mounds, destroyed them to take artifacts, and eventually just built over top of them. These mounds were very large, and the construction was very intricate, and of course, wanting to paint the indigenous people as quote-unquote savages or quote-unquote uncivilized, the white people who now inhabited North America could not admit that they were capable of such constructions, because that would not justify their ideas about being superior. So from the colonial era into the 20th century, it was widely accepted that certain earthen structures and burial grounds prove the existence of a quote-unquote white or Indo-European peoples who settled in North America only to be wiped out by the arrival of Andrew Jackson's quote-unquote savage tribes. And as colonizers branched out, this idea was of great use to them as it justified in their minds the extermination and forced migration of indigenous people. Now, later on in the early 1890s, the U.S. ethnologist Cyrus Vance discredited the theory in a series published by the Smithsonian Institute, but the idea of a pre-Columbian quote-unquote white genocide never really disappeared, and we can even still see traces of it today. All of this is connected to the current far-right idea of ancient Nordic-looking astronauts, biblical Aryan giants, and Nazi scientists under the North Pole, and the occasional interdimensional alien in league with the Jewish people who are secretly running the government. It is not only connected to a dangerous past, but is going to be used to create a dangerous future. Now, before I move on, I just want to make it clear that when I say a dangerous future and present, I really mean it. If we look back at history, if we look at the rise of Hitler, the way that he was able to justify the extermination and genocide of millions of different people is because he changed history. It's because he lied and created this idea that people who were white or quote-unquote Aryan were superior because of these false theories. In order to control the present, all you have to do is control and change the past. That is why it is so important to not only dismantle these theories, but teach real history and ensure that lies like this cannot further spread. That's why archaeology and the field of history as a whole are so very important. Now, to give myself a few minutes to just, breathe and calm down, let's circle back to von Däniken and his work, Signs of the Gods, where he shares some opinions. Now, as I mentioned, Erich von Däniken is who the show Ancient Aliens and the theory as a whole takes a lot of material from. And as I'm about to show, he was not the greatest of people. Like I said, he shared some really interesting ideas here. I have a few examples. In his book, Signs of the Gods, he said, quote, "Was the black race a failure, and did the extraterrestrials change the genetic code by gene surgery and then program a white or yellow race?" End quote. He also printed beliefs about the innate talents of certain races. I know, sounds like a great guy who we should definitely lift materials from for a show. He said, quote, "Nearly all," word I will not say, he's referring to black people, "are musical. They have rhythm in their blood." Von Däniken also consistently used the term race in comparison with Caucasians. So this concept is off to a pretty racist start. These alien theories undermine the agency, archaeology, and intellect of non-European cultures, specifically in Africa and South America, as well as the native peoples in North America, by erasing their achievements. Notably, many, although not all, extraterrestrial theories focus on archaeological structures at sites within Egypt, Africa, South America, and North America, as opposed to quote-unquote mysterious sites anywhere else. In 2014, German pseudoscientists and hobbyists defaced a place in Khufu inside the Great Pyramid in their misguided search to prove their alien theories, harming a great archaeological site integral to the study of the past. These Misguided beliefs lead to action that actively destroys parts of our history that are still standing. Stonehenge is one of the very few structures built by European ancestors placed in this category of structures allegedly built by aliens. The disproportion of speculation surrounding non-European versus European structures is noticeable. The problem with this theory is that it seems harmless. That is what makes it so scary. Just like Hollow Earth and Atlantis, Ancient Aliens sounds like a funny little thing that only a few dumb people buy, but it's not. Just like the other two theories mentioned, this one can and is used to claim land that those groups have no right to. It is used to justify the oppression and even violence against marginalized groups. It's inherently dangerous for everyone. In order to avoid another event that destroys history, we need to be able to dismantle these theories and talk about how they are in fact inherently racist without people getting uncomfortable or trying to defend them, saying that, well, there are European structures that are questioned, because while that's true, it's disproportionately structures built by non-European people. And the other thing is that when you say that it's disproportionately questioned structures built by non-European people, I want you to think about why these structures are questioned at all. These structures are questioned because they are considered to be too advanced, and we don't know how they were built. It's undermining the achievements of other races. It's essentially stating that all of these great structures outside of Europe could not have been built because how did they manage to achieve it? It insinuates that these people couldn't have achieved it. It paints ancestors as below average in intelligence. It undermines these valuable and extensive cultures, and even leads to the destruction of them. That is really all I have for this video. Like I said, it is a much shorter one, but I really wanted to talk about it. I'm thinking about making a whole video on, well, actually it's probably going to end up being a whole series on Atlantis. So you might never get the other video that I said I was going to make, but that's alright, because with certain world events, I think it's more important to dismantle these beliefs than it has been previously. So, with that being said, sorry this one was kind of a bummer, but I hope you enjoy the rest of your day and continue to try to dismantle these harmful beliefs, including if they're held by people you know in real life. Thank you so much for watching.